All right, future architects, let's talk about doors. It's so easy to just think about the opening itself, right? But the hardware, the lock, that's where the real magic happens. It's where your design meets security, building codes, and just everyday life. Especially for your ARE exams, knowing which lock to specify isn't just a tiny detail, it's a huge decision. So let's dive in and unlock the secrets to totally acing these questions.
Here's what we're going to do. First, we'll get a bird's eye view of the 4 main lock types you've got to know. Then, we'll go deep on each one: the heavy-duty mortise, the super common cylindrical, and the problem-solving unit and rim locks. We'll look at cost versus performance, and then, the best part, we'll run through some real RE-style scenarios to make sure all this knowledge is locked in tight.
Okay, I want you to think of your hardware spec sheet like a cast of characters in a play. Every single lock has a very specific role. Getting to know our 4 main players here, mortise, cylindrical, unit, and rim, is really the first step to making the right call every single time.
Think of this as your exam day cheat sheet. Seriously, at a single glance, you get the whole story. You've got the mortise, the absolute powerhouse for commercial spaces. Then there's the cylindrical, the one you see everywhere, in homes and offices. And what about unit and rim? Well, those are your special ops, your problem solvers. We're going to use this as our roadmap as we break each one down.
First up, let's talk about the beast, the mortise lock. Just picture a super busy school hallway or a hospital entrance. I mean, those doors get a serious workout. The lock that can handle that kind of abuse day in and day out without even breaking a sweat, that's the mortise. It is, without a doubt, the most robust and secure option you can possibly specify. So the secret to its incredible strength is right there in the name, mortise. A mortise is that deep, rectangular pocket that's precisely milled into the edge of the door. This thing isn't just attached to the door, the whole lock body is housed inside of it. It becomes this integral, super strong part of the door assembly. That deep pocket, that's your key identifier.
So the pros are huge. You're getting unmatched durability for doors that are constantly being used, and it's incredibly flexible. If you need to add a card reader or hook it up to an access control system, the mortise lock is built for it. But, and this is a big but, there's a trade-off. It's the premium choice. It's expensive, and so is the skilled labor you need to install it. You really have to plan for it from the get-go, making sure your door is thick enough to even house it.
Okay, let's put on our ARE hats. When you're in the exam and a question mentions a school classroom, a hotel, or any place with high traffic, your brain should immediately scream mortise. If it mentions access control or electrification, yep, that's mortise again. It's the only real answer when performance and security are the top priorities. All right, let's shift gears completely. Let's talk about the lock you've probably already used a dozen times today, the cylindrical lock. This is the absolute workhorse of homes and light commercial spaces. You know, if the mortise is a tank, the cylindrical is the reliable family sedan. They'll both get you there, but they are very, very different animals. And the installation? It could not be more different from a mortise. Forget about that precise milling. For a cylindrical lock, all you need are 2 drilled holes. A big one straight through the face of the door for the handle, and a smaller one on the edge for the latch. That's it. The whole process is built for speed and simplicity. The upside is pretty clear, right? It's all about efficiency. It's cheap, it installs in a flash, and you can find them anywhere. The downside? Well, that simplicity has its limits. It's just not going to hold up in a heavy commercial setting, and you don't get all those cool advanced security functions that come with a mortise lock. So here's your ARE takeaway for this one. If the scenario is a house, an interior office door, or, a storage closet, the cylindrical lock is the no-brainer. If the question throws out keywords like tight budget or low traffic, this is almost always going to be your answer. It just gets the job done well and affordably in the right context. Okay, so we've covered the 2 big ones, but what about those tricky situations? Like a retrofit or a historic building where you can't just start cutting new holes everywhere. That's where our 2 special cases, the unit and rim locks, get to shine. The unit lock is pretty clever. It comes from the factory completely pre-assembled. It's designed to just slide into a single rectangular cutout on the face of the door, which makes installation a breeze. It's basically a prefab lock. The rim lock, on the other hand, is even simpler. The entire lockbox is just mounted right on the surface of the door. Nothing is hidden inside. So, for the exam, remember, unit is pre-assembled and rim is surface-mounted.
So we know what they are, but how do we actually choose? In architecture, it almost always boils down to the same 2 questions, right? How much does it cost, and what level of performance do we need? Let's break that down visually.
This chart says it all.
For the ARE, you do not need to memorize exact dollar amounts. What you do need to know is the relative order. Cylindrical is your baseline. Low cost, low to medium durability. Mortise is way up at the top end. Highest cost, highest durability. And that unit lock, it sits comfortably right there in the middle. This visual hierarchy is a super powerful tool for making quick calls on the exam.
Okay, practice time. Let's apply what we've learned to a couple of rapid-fire scenarios, just like the ones you're going to see on the PPD and PDD exams. Let's see how you do.
Okay, read that carefully and think about the keywords. We've got high traffic, fire-rated, and electronic card reader. Which is the only lock that checks all three of those boxes? If you said mortise lock, you are absolutely correct. It has to be. It's the only one built for that kind of heavy use. It's designed from the ground up to be electrified, and it's the standard for commercial fire-rated doors. It's an easy choice once you know what to look for. All right, now for a totally different kind of challenge. The key constraints here are historic preservation and minimal modification. You can't just go drilling big holes or cutting deep pockets into this beautiful old door. So, what's the play? Yes, it has to be the rim lock. By mounting it directly onto the surface, you avoid any major invasive surgery on the door. You get to add modern security while preserving that priceless historic fabric. It's the perfect problem solver when you can't really modify the door.
So, we've covered all the mechanics, the codes, the use cases, but let's end on a design note. The hardware you choose is often the very first physical thing a person interacts with in your building. It's literally the handshake. So, after you've made the correct technical choice, always ask yourself, what story is this hardware telling? What does this handshake say about the space they're about to enter? That's where good architecture becomes great architecture.